to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and the good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and of course, you good old boys in Africa. You know we love the Big C tribe. We love you in Canada, but still there's no one we love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free, in the home of the brave, on a beautiful June the 8th, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, it's sweaty down here. It's warm.
Yep.
We got rain. We got sunshine. We got moonshine. We got everything that you want to have a shine on.
That's funny. Sunshine and moonshine. I'm surprised no one's come up with the moonshine drink, but I know they'll do it any day now, Big C. I just think there's so much going on in the world of the sports universe. People relaxing around these horses. I don't know what it is about watching horses run around a track that gets you good old boys so excited, but we have that going on. We also have a lot of baseball swinging the bat. Baseball's still a little bit irrelevant. Last night we had Lord Stanley's Cup. They found that some good old boys tried to find the one with vibranium, even though Ovechkin was walking through the MGM saying, this ain't the one with vibranium I've been hearing about, Big C. We have the NBA playoffs tonight. Will it be a final end to the season? I hope not. I hope we get another game in Oakland. But there's a lot of stuff to talk about. And Big C, I just want to get your thoughts on what's going on in your neck of the woods.
Charlton, what's going on in our neck of woods? Sit up and watch a very stimulating final game in the Stanley Cup last night with Washington winning the game, Charlton. It was just an exciting game, and in the finale in Las Vegas. Here's a team in Las Vegas that's gone much further than anybody would have ever expected that they would.
Yeah.
And, the greatest relief in town, Charlton, was to the books.
Yep.
You think about it, 500 to 1 odds.
Yeah.
As much as Vegas loves to be in the Stanley Cup from the city's perspective, Charlton, the casinos hated the opportunity to pay off a 500 to 1 bet. Because a lot of people in Las Vegas, think about this. If you just went in and let me put $10 on them, let me put $100 on them, let me put $5. People were doing that.
Yeah.
And so those tickets, and you think about, you had at least 17,000 people do it because that's what the stadium holds.
Yeah.
So, you had at least 17,000 bets at 500 to 1, minimum.
Yeah.
So, all these people sitting around licking their chops when the Golden Knights got to the Stanley Cup, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, just a beautifully fought, final game at Washington coming out on top, Charlton, for the first time in their history. And it was ironic. You think about it. The Washington Bullets, who are now the Washington Wizards, won their one and only title, Charlton, 40 years to the day.
Wow.
That the Capitals won their championship, Charlton, and that was their first Stanley Cup championship in their history. They came into the league, I believe, in '74.
Yep.
And they've gone year after year, Charlton, with hopes and aspirations. You've had Ovechkin on the roster, Charlton, who has been a multiple-time MVP. You had Oshie, who's doing a great job out on the wing. But, this is what it's all about, winning a championship. And, the thing about it, Charlton, they didn't have to reroute their plane like some teams have done on the way home.
Yeah, that's true.
All they had to do was walk across the strip to get to where they were going.
Yeah.
And, just a great night for Stanley Cup. And I want to commend NBC for putting it on the network last night.
Thankfully.
Allowing the entire country to see the game, Charlton. And, you wonder why the NHL ratings are not what they should be, Charlton. That is the reason why. You can only pick one game to put on the network, Charlton. You preempt regular programs for championships. Yeah. Because they're taped, Charlton. You can always drop them in at another time.
Yeah.
That's what the NBA gets right. Is they tell you, we're going to play, we have a 7-game series booked. These are the nights and the times that this was booked on ABC. Whatever you were doing as far as loyalty to a program, you got to figure it out for another time.
That's true.
The NBA takes priority.
They always do. I do want to say this segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. You brought up that story about what the NHL is doing, and then NBC stepping into the forefront. I remember when NBC used to have NFL football before they came back the second go-around. But I remember it was Super Bowl 33 down in San Diego. I believe it was Green Bay playing the Denver Broncos, the one where Davis rushed for over 200 yards and somehow did not get the MVP. They gave it to John Elway, who had kind of a flip into the end zone. But he had it with migraine, so he really, think about what Davis did in that Super Bowl. In a stadium that the NFL says is no longer good for football. He rushed for 200 yards in 3 quarters. Remember, he set out with migraine. And after doing that and controlling the ground game, they gave the MVP to John Elway, who played all 4 quarters and still did not outperform Davis. I thought that was incredible, but I remember the great late Dick Enberg, who was doing the play-by-play of that game. And they let the whole world know as they flew in everybody from all over the country. They flew me in from the Bay Area. But I remember with NBC Sports, they let everybody know you could find the Super Bowl on NBC. You didn't have to go to some cable channel. Coming back into next year, and you saw how great hockey was, Big C. What can hockey do? And I think you just said it, but let's say it again. What can they do to stop treating your sport like it's second fiddle, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, that comes down to the commissioner, Gary Bettman. Hockey is a great game, Charlton.
It's amazing.
I mean, it's best seen live. You can't get all the nuances on television. You can't get the sound of the puck and the stick making contact, Charlton. You can't get the sound of the slicing of the ice from the skates. I mean, it is a game that is best served live.
Yeah.
But it needs to be live on network television, Charlton. You have to appeal to the masses. The Canadians know what the game is. They watch it regardless at all times, and it's on their major networks. But here in the U.S., it's looked as a third wheel.
Yep.
Because we have never seen an NFL game that has not been on mainstream television.
No.
Yes, they're on cable also, but mainstream television, Saturday, Sunday, you're going to get an NFL game.
Yeah.
You're going to get an NBA game, Charlton, once they kick off the season and gotten past Christmas.
Yeah.
You're always going to get an NBA game on Sunday on ABC.
Yeah.
It's just there.
Yep.
For years, the NBA was always tape delayed, Charlton, even the championship series. I remember growing up watching the Lakers and the Knicks, in back-to-back championship runs.
Yeah.
On a tape delay, watching the game at 11:30 at night.
Yes.
The NBA was not a popular sport, but they understood what it took to gain popularity. And that's that they had to be on when people were awake, Charlton.
I agree.
Not at 11:30 at night. They needed to take over prime time. So they started playing the championship series during the day at one point.
Yes.
But you always got a weekend game during the day. Then they realized we have to control where the most people watch television.
Yep.
8, 9 o'clock p.m. So we're going to hold that time frame, and we're going to own it.
Yeah.
They took the model from Monday Night Football, Charlton. If you look at Monday Night Football, it always starts 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
It became the number one sports in the television bracket, Charlton.
Yep.
It bypassed baseball and everything else that was a national pastime. Then when the NFL went to Monday night prime time, it changed the dynamics of how we viewed sports.
I remember
the NBA followed that model, Charlton, and they did it at the time when I was talking about the NBA was coming on at 11:30 night, tape delayed.
Yeah.
You could watch the news and get the score. They would tell you, if you don't want to know the score, turn away or turn down your volume for a second.
Yep.
They would tell you that.
Yep.
And so all of a sudden, the commissioner said, hey, maybe we need to look at this model. This sport is growing in leaps and bounds. They've integrated the 2 leagues. They've gotten all the popularity. They have this thing called the Super Bowl.
Yep.
It's the most viewed program in the world.
Yeah.
Let's look at what they are doing.
I tell you.
Larry O'Brien saw that, Charlton, and said, this is what I'm going to do.
Yes.
And the thing that I have as an advantage over the NFL is that the fans can see my players. So if they can see them in prime time, I can market all of them, Charlton.
That makes so much sense. And one of the reasons the NBA is such a hot topic and a hot commodity is you can see the players. You can actually reach out and touch them. I think when they can jump trying to get to the sideline to keep a ball from going out of bounds, sometimes they actually end up in the lap of some of those fans. I'll never forget, over at Oracle Arena in Oakland, there was a time when Durant threw a pass and someone missed it and it hit a lady upside the head. And he not only did he apologize, but he went over to her and gave her a kiss on the forehead. And that's, that's something that people will, I'm sure that lady will always remember that moment, that he didn't just turn and walk away. And that thing that the NBA is great at, they don't put people in a cage like they do in the NHL. And of course, you can't have a hockey puck flying around. You got to have a glass around it. But the NBA lets you reach out and touch somebody. You can reach out and touch. What did they say back in the day? Reach out and touch somebody's hand. I forgot who sang it, but I still know that song.
Well, maybe you need to sing that song to Donald Trump. When you think about this guy saying it, I'm not going to invite either NBA champion, whichever team wins, to the White House.
Yeah.
Think about how little you are as an individual. The reason why is because the NBA owners don't succumb to him like the NFL owners do.
No.
They don't pacify him.
Nuh-uh.
Nor do the players have any fear of him. The greatest part about the NBA players is that they have ownership of their league. They have great contract structure. They have a great union structure, Charles.
Yeah.
That they cannot be intimidated or pushed around. It's not as easy to go after an NBA player like it is an NFL player, where so many people say they're dispensable. You can get rid of them. You can get another one, they cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Because the players are the entity of the NBA.
Yes.
They try to think that the owners are the entity of the NFL. They're not. They're the players. But the thing about the difference between the two leagues is that they try to take certain mainstream players and make them the marqueeism of the league. Well, whether they have any social awareness or not, is that they say, this is the brand that we have, this is our guys. They may not be the best in the league, but it's the ones that are pushed. You think about these $100 million quarterbacks that they're rolling out there now, like California's rolling joints, and green everywhere. How much green can you handle? Can you win? That's the thing. They can't win. It's just like you smoke too many of those greens in California, you get a little lackadaisical, Charlton. You're not as productive. And so we look at these $100 million quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yes.
And find the productivity with them. I think that's what you have to find, is where's the productivity or lack of productivity.
Yes.
The NBA owners pay players for production.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they do. You see the product, you see the players, and they're not getting in trouble also like the NFL players, Charlton.
That's a good point.
You don't hear them on the bloggers.
No.
Their league is about unity. And so the NFL owners try to separate their own players.
Yeah.
They take players, they overpay them, saying, well, they're the face of the franchise. They don't win. And so you create frustration throughout the ranks.
Right.
Yes, the guys enjoy making a great living in professional sports.
Yeah.
But if you're lined up next to a guy, Charlton, he's making $14 million.
Yep.
You're over there making $1.4 million, and yet you're the better player.
Yeah.
I mean, look at mainstream America. If you're doing the same work as somebody else, and we see that disparity with a lot of women in the workworkplace.
That don't get paid
where
the
they're
same.
doing the same job that men are doing and being paid 35-40% less.
Yeah. Well,
and they will struggle trying to figure out equality. It happens in professional sports. But the NBA, because they have so much parity in their salary structures, Charlton, in paying players, there's a lot of contentment in that league.
Well, speaking of contentment, I want to ask you a question, and you brought it up at the top of my mind. You know, we cover everything on Big C Sports because it's just real talk. When I saw Kim Kardashian, and I know you watch the Kardashians. I know that's one of your favorite sitcom. I don't know if it's a sitcom or what it is.
Cardi B.
Yeah, somebody about
I watch Cardi B.
Somebody with Kanye West. I got to get your thoughts. Now, I would think as a woman, but I mean, I might be ignorant by making this statement, but here she is, made herself famous by young girls, following her on TV and buying some of the stuff that she's selling. Now, these young girls that don't have an outlet, they want to say they live vicariously through her, right? And she has a right to do what she wants to do. But standing next to POTUS, who pardons an African-American woman, and I hope she's innocent, but she was sentenced for life in prison and involved with, I think, $50 million of some type of narcotic. And maybe she was innocent and she should be out if she's innocent, right? But of all the people, Kim Kardashian standing there next to POTUS, no mention of sexual assault with Stormy Daniels, no mention of the sexual allegations against them, against, women. And I would think, of course, you can't blame Kim for trying to do something, but I think they're being used for a prop to say, look, I want the minority vote. Here's someone that represents the minority community. She's married to a black guy, so maybe that'll get some people and some young people who follow Kim, who has a huge following, standing next to POTUS with all of his sexual assault allegations, no talk about it. And she says, well, Trump helped pardon somebody who did one of the more nefarious reasons that you're incarcerated, which is cocaine smuggling. And most African Americans have been incarcerated over drugs. But no talk about that, pardoning other people who are innocent. They go after someone with a big name as if to say, we want to tacitly consent to getting the black vote, the people that follow Kim. Am I reading too much into it, Big C? Your thoughts?
Charlton, you have to look at it how he looks at it. He looked at it as a photo publicity op.
Yeah.
This is a reality TV star like he had been a reality TV star. I praise Kim Kardashian for helping get a woman released from prison.
Yeah.
Who had been in there for, the length of time that she had. But on the flip side of that story, Charlton, there was a man today who had to go back to prison, who was sentenced to 35 years for the same thing, narcotics dealing, who was released 2 years ago in 2016, okay?
Yes.
Went out, he had gotten his life back in order, Charlton. He was a model citizen. He had gotten a job. He was working every day. He was ready to start a family, got in a relationship.
Yeah.
He had spent 27 years in prison. And all of a sudden it came out a week ago that they released the wrong man. So the judge put a warrant out for him to put him back in prison. Hadn't done anything wrong in 27 years in prison. They accidentally released him 10 years early. It showed that he could be back in society and go under the radar, Charlton, just be a normal citizen.
Yeah.
He was out working, got a job, had a place to live. He was not out begging. He was not out on the system. And isn't what the prison system's supposed to do, Charlton? What's the word for what they're supposed to do with them?
They want to get them back into the workforce.
They want to get them back in the workforce. You want to go in and pay your restitution to society to come out and say that you're a better person. He did all of what was asked of him, Charlton. They accidentally released him, and they said, no, we still want 10 pounds of flesh from you.
Yeah.
You're going to come back into this institution and still serve another 10 years, even though you've been out for 2 years, paying taxes, got your driver's license, doing all these things. No, we want you back in the system because we made a mistake and we let you out, even though you're not a menace to society.
Yeah.
So when I look at what the president is doing, and he's running around, he had been friends with Kanye West prior to being elected, Charlton.
Yeah.
But what he is doing, honestly, is he's playing the race card.
Yeah.
He's playing a passive race card. And this is what he's doing. Okay, I give clemency, reduce sentences to a few minorities in jail. And yes, there should be a lot of them released, Charlton, because we know of the witch hunt and false prosecution that locked up a lot of minorities.
Yep.
But the president is not talking about saving the lives of minorities who are not incarcerated, Charlton.
Nope.
That's what I look at. He says, okay, he's telling the minority community, okay, if I let some of you out of the prisons, then you guys know that I'm for you. I'm going to vote for you. But I'm not going to talk about gun reform. I'm not going to talk about police and social reform. I'm just going to let some people out of prison.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out and I'm going to take away some of these strikes against people.
Yeah.
Save some lives first. That would mean more to me coming from the White House. Saving some lives, having some police reform, Charlton.
Yeah.
Having some educational reform, Charlton. Having some gun reform in America. I know that prisons are a bad place.
Yes.
And a lot of people shouldn't be there. But a lot of people should be there.
Right.
But the problem is that we have people on the streets of America trying to have an opportunity for life, Charlton, and it's being snuffed away because we lack political reform.
And I think that's very well said. And I hope, and because you won't hear this on any other sports show, they're just going to read you that same old. And I know so many guys in the sports business. I've known so many athletes dating way back to when I met Gene Washington when I was a young boy with the 49ers. And I just know how and he's an intelligent man. He's risen to very, very high in the establishment of the world of the NFL. And just meeting people like that and people who use their platform to say things that can really help people who are trying to find a way to improve life. And that's why I appreciate so many of the smart men who use their platform and that window of time, that hourglass of time that we have in our lifetime somewhere in the universe to speak out to help somebody have a better life. And usually that's young people. And again, congratulations on Kardashian trying to help one person. But there's a lot more things that need to be done. But I'm not knocking her for trying. I just think that it's a good start. But I would love to at least ask this person about the assaults and the women that have come forward. What happened to those women?
Charlton, think about this. What minority political leader has the president listened to when we talk about reform, releasing people from prison? We have minorities on television every night on on news programs.
Yeah.
Talking about this same thing. Does he listen to them? No,
Nope.
Charlton. He calls them fake news.
Yep.
But when he had an opportunity to deal with a reality star, it wasn't because of Kim Kardashian's political clout, Charlton.
No.
It was because of her TV appeal
The aliens
and
that
his
follows her.
opportunity to have a photo op.
Yep.
Who do you think released the photograph of them in the Oval Office, Charlton? She couldn't take her own personal photographer in there. It's the White House photographer.
Yeah.
They're releasing what they want you to see.
Yeah.
Here it is, and it lets you know what type of person. I mean, she started out her career by doing what Stormy Daniels was doing.
Isn't that something?
You think about it. That's how Kim Kardashian became famous.
With RJ, I think his name is
like
RJ.
when you listen to Rudy Giuliani 2 days ago when he was in Israel,
Yep.
talking about he respects women of moral character
Yeah.
and of class. And he says all the president's wives have been that. His first wife was a Russian import.
Yep.
His second wife, he was having an affair with her while he was married to the Russian import. His third wife was a mail order bride. When Rudy Giuliani said he does not respect women who sells their bodies for money, do you realize? You talk about this all the time on air, Charlton, every day. What's that blue button you talk about?
Hold on. Google? Google it. Yeah.
Melania Trump
Yeah.
nude photos were the most Googled thing on Google yesterday.
Google it.
It led Google in hits. Think about this. This is around the world.
Yep.
That Melania Trump nude photos led Google in hits yesterday around the world because that's what she did. She sold her body just like what's the lady's name?
The Daniel
Clifford.
Daniel.
Stephanie Clifford
Oh.
and Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
Before she became the first lady.
Yep. Yep. And see, I want young people who saw that photo app, especially people of color, to realize they're still trying to pass this stop and frisk here in Sessions. It don't mean stopping white kids. That's to get more black kids under the tutelage of the criminal justice system. Once they pull you over and arrest you, you have a record for the rest of your life. I'm not talking about the record you buy from a music store. You have a record that stays on you. And when someone says, have you ever been arrested? You got to answer yes. Because you've been pulled over, you're in the system. So they just don't be dumb. And I got to bring this up. You mentioned that thing. What's going on with Stormy Daniels, and obviously Giuliani doesn't read, so he doesn't know what Kim Kardashian did.
This is a guy, Rudy Giuliani, who was, think about it, if you're dating a woman while you're married to a woman, you think she's dating you for free? Did he not pay for all her expenses? He paid for her apartment. So I'm just trying to wonder.
Well, in fairness,
before he divorced his wife,
yes,
and the woman that he was paying all her bills to sleep with him.
Yeah.
I don't know if you constitute that paying for sex or not.
Well, let me be.
But you're paying all her bills. So I might have to check. I might have to Google and see if that means that.
Let me take Giuliani's side. Don't you? What didn't Tina tell us What's love got to do? You don't think he had those women for love? Or do you think he had to open up his American Express black card in order for them to hang out with him? Because most women that I talked to, they wouldn't even deal with him. Imagine this guy had such a disdain for Daniels in trying to say she's a horrible person because she did something on videotape.
Well, no, because she told him no.
She told him no.
She told him no.
But then they invite Kardashian to the White House, who also is known, you can Google it too, what she did on tape to become famous. And unfortunately, a lot of ignorant girls think if I do what she did, I'll be worth $200 million a year too. I mean, you do what you want to do. Free America, you're adult, do what you want to do. But for those young girls and looking at Trump use her for cheese, there's so many politicians. He could have met with John Lewis when they want to talk about reform and getting people that were unlawfully accused of crimes. He didn't meet with someone with the same political clout. He could have met with Michael Eric Dyson. I think they're trying to do something with Van Jones, but that's a grandstanding that he was doing. And
Cornel West.
He could have met with Cornel
Harry
West.
Edwards.
Yeah. He could have met with Harry
You want
Edwards.
to meet with people, Charlton, or such. Meet with Don Lemon.
Yes.
From CNN tonight. There's many of people who have political and social views that he can meet with, but they're intimidated. When you think about someone who is unarticulate,
yep,
as we have in the White House today, Charlton, you hear it every time that they put a camera in front of him, Charlton, and he's not reading a script.
Yes.
You would think that he's in the 4th or 5th grade the way he's talking, and he's going off subject and he's just starting ranting and raving.
He uses his hands a lot.
You go to the 5th grade class, you get the same thing.
Well, yep.
So he's not wanting to sit down with anyone who's too intelligent of a minority race, Charlton.
Yeah.
He's not wanting to do that. The reason why he blasts black athletes so often, Charlton, is because they've been to college.
Does Kim not know that?
Does
Kim not know that?
Well, she's dated a few college boys. We've seen that.
But and that's the point. He's using that for two angles. Number one, we know she loves black men, and who doesn't? Everybody suntans or they're born with it. But to get it at her is to grab the attention of all of her fans that pay attention to her, that buy her TV shows or whatever.
150 million Instagram followers, Charlton.
Yeah.
150 Instagram followers. Now see Donald Trump attached to her.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
He's going out there trying to extend his base, is what he's doing. He's not doing this to help America. Like I said, you go in, anytime you want, any president can give clemency to any prisoner in America.
Sure can.
Doing one sounds lovely.
Yeah.
There's thousands, though, that need that same clemency, Charlton.
They sure do.
And I'll even give you one that's out there in California. Where are you? Everyone remembers the Cheech and Chong movies.
Yep.
Up in Smoke and movies of that. Cheech Marion was given an 8-year sentence in a California prison for having drug paraphernalia.
I remember that.
That meant that he had the pipe. He didn't have the narcotics. He had those bongs that they put the water in and smoke through it as a filter, Charlton.
Yeah.
He had pipes in his home. He was given 8 years in prison for having paraphernalia, not the drug, but having the paraphernalia to use it. Now, I think he had to buy that from a particular shop, or there's several shops in California at the time that sold this paraphernalia.
Yep.
They incarcerated him for possessing the paraphernalia, but the store owner didn't get prosecuted, Charlie.
No, not at all.
He could buy it, but it was a criminal act to own it. The guy who was selling it, it was not criminal to sell it.
Yep. So, Big C, I think, again, I'm around this AAU basketball, and there are boys and girls that play it, these teenagers, high school age, basically, and I know a lot of them follow Big C Sports, and I know a lot more follow Kardashian, especially on the women's side. And I just want young girls, because this ties into listen, young girls, listen, okay? There's never any excuse for domestic violence or sexual assault. So how many women would go to the party of a man that sexually assaulted her? And you say, well, I wouldn't do it. Okay, how many of you would go to the party of a man who sexually assaulted other women? And everybody say, well, I wouldn't do that either. Really? So why are you standing next to him in the White House when he has anathema for a race of people? You can Google the Central Park 5. I wish that Kanye West would have read those articles, because most of those boys look just like him when he called for the death penalty and they were innocent. So here's a man pardoning a woman dealing with drugs, but won't even apologize for asking for the death penalty of 5 black boys in the Central Park 5 that were innocent. They spent time in prison before they were acquitted.
Over a decade each, Charlton, from 12 to 16 years, they all spent in prison because of Donald Trump's actions, because he pushed the city and Rudy Giuliani to prosecute these boys.
He sure did. So I know Kanye doesn't know that because he's ignorant. And it's a shame that their son has them to look up to. But Google it. Don't listen to Big C Sports. But do your own research. Why are you standing next to somebody who has the biggest lawsuit in New York City for housing discrimination against African Americans, and you're standing next to him? Can't wait to shake his hand. So I want young people to at least Google who you deal with, even if it's us. I think that's so important, especially for young girls, because if you're a sycophant to somebody who offers you money and tells you he's going to sue you, if you tell on him...
Well, Charlton, there was one thing during the last presidency that we had. Whenever they offered the numbers on the job market or anything else, he never went out and said, or his cabinet never said, or his spokesperson said, well, the numbers of African-American employment is down, the number of Hispanic unemployment is down. He never said that. He said America's numbers.
Yep.
He looped everyone together. We have this presidency breaking things down by race. That lets you know that there's a racial divide. There's an underlying message in what he's saying. It's not that America is at this point. He's saying, well, minorities, well, I'm going to go blacks, Hispanics, Asians. Why do you say that? Next we'll have East Indians, Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese. He's going to start breaking it down that way. What's wrong with just American unemployment is down? And, every time I see something that says he's for minorities, do anybody ever listen to the things that he has said? When he said, we want to take things back to the way that they were when you could just beat them up and you didn't get arrested.
Yep.
He was speaking about minorities when the police could rough them up and there was no recourse.
Yeah.
He was speaking about minorities. And when he says that he's the least racist person that you could ever know in the world, when you have this Muslim ban going on, Charlton, when you have where you're separating these Hispanic families that are coming across the border, where you're taking their children and putting them in the state of New York, and you keep the mothers incarcerated in California and Arizona, and you're shipping their children off to New York.
Kim and Kanye don't know that, though.
Any parent that listens to our program, if you, unfortunately, for some reason, was arrested, and they took your children and sent them across the country while you were going through your criminal proceedings, while you were trying to get whatever exonerated, that you couldn't have your children around, would that be American? Would that be civil? Would that be human? You unhuman to do that to a person, to take their children, ship them 3,000 miles away.
Yep.
And these kids have never been away from you. And you put them in a place where they know no one, and they can't even communicate with you. Think about the hardship that you put on people, not an immigrant, on people.
Yeah.
That is unhumanitarian.
And I tell you what, as someone that knows a whole potpourri of people, again, we all start out by saying all life began on the African continent. You can Google Dr. Leakey and Gregor Mendel, the world's most foremost scientists, as well as paleontologists. Just Google that, because we're all the same tribe. And the reason I say that, Big C, is if mainstream knows that all life came from Africa, then you look at the criminal justice system where black Americans are 7 times more likely to be falsely accused of a crime, and 80% of the prosecutors are Caucasian, predominantly men. So it's easy to lock somebody up and throw away the key when you have anathema for that culture. But if you read a little bit and Google where all life came from, how do you justify locking up your father? How do you justify locking up your mother?
Economics, Charlton.
It's economics.
Pure economics.
And that's
that
what,
is the reason why law enforcement and the judicial system is set up the way it is. You've spoken frequently about the documentary 13th.
Yep.
It's the 13th Amendment. Everyone is talking about their Second Amendment rights, their First Amendment rights. Go and read the 13th Amendment. Read what it says. Then watch the documentary 13th on Netflix to understand why our social structure is what it is.
It's designed.
Our criminal justice system is what it is. It's written into the Constitution.
Yep.
They're not freelancing. And when we talk about the police officers that have done things that have been injustice, Charlton,
Yeah.
they're not freelancing. They're following the Constitution.
Yeah.
That you have the right to do these things. And so when we talk about reform, it's just like the Second Amendment and the 13th Amendment will never be reformed in America. Those things allow two things. They allow American citizens to kill each other, okay?
Yep.
And they allow American citizens to incarcerate one another. Those two amendments are the most egregious amendments to American citizens in America.
And I think that people need to understand that the 13th Amendment, if you want to Google it and your Google's not working, I'm going to tell you, the 13th Amendment is the abolition of slavery. Slaves were emancipated 1863, fully ratified 1865. You won't hear that on the mothership because they're too busy telling you who's going to win a game. And I think that's when we talk about the miseducation of black folks and all people, because if black society doesn't educate mainstream, they're never going to learn it. And that's why I have such anathema for many of the sports talk shows that have black athletes on there, erstwhile players that haven't scored a touchdown or scored a basket in 5 or 20 years, and they come on, you think, hey, I'm going to learn something from this guy. And all I hear is, hey, guess how big and strong this guy is? How many points do you think he's going to score? Do you think he's going to stay in this city? Man, when I played back in the day, we played rough basketball back in the day. I mean, you could get the stuff, the guys now, you can get away with. I mean, is that all you got to offer me? Seriously, I'm not saying to be W.E.B. Du Bois, talented 10th, but at least do something that makes a young kid say, you know what? You fed my spirit. You fed my spirit. You fed my knowledge. Because when young people are smart and intelligent, they tend not to reduplicate what happened in the past. It was the black Americans that created the civil rights movement. But now you have so many sycophants on TV because they just want to be on TV. What are they going to do to emancipate anybody, if anything, other than the dollar out of your pocket to go buy one more shoe or t-shirt? Big C, how did that happen where we went from having intelligent people like Dr. King, like a Malcolm X, like even a Farrakhan, he's always spitting wisdom, but they demonized him. But they'll put some guy up on TV that adds nothing to your brain other than, hey, man, this guy's he's a great player. You know, when I played, he's someone we really respected. That's not teaching about economics, science, criminal justice, any of that. How to end sexual assault, domestic abuse. That's important because we have that hourglass of time. And in that hourglass of time, what are you listening to? Like Kardashian being there next to president. What do young girls learn by seeing that? All they see is that you don't matter unless you do something on video or you get famous. Oh, but if you say I touched you, I'm going to sue you. That's the hypocrisy of that interview or that headshot. And I just don't want young people to be snowballed and Duke Bixie. That's why I'm so passionate about it. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, as we look at the evolution of the minority culture in America, it had leaders. And those leaders, even though they had sports leaders at that time, those sports leaders still followed the social leaders,
yes,
for the direction that they were lending in. Mainstream society eliminated all those leaders, Charlton, when you look at it. And so they said, okay, because we've gotten rid of your social leaders, we're going to leave your sports leaders in place. So when you go back and look at it, no sports leaders were assassinated, Charlton.
Nope.
Only the social leaders. So if we want you to focus on these guys, because they'll take you away from the social structure of America.
Amen.
And let you think that sports is your outlet, is how you will accomplish success in life. And many of these guys have accomplished a lot, Charlton, in the sports world.
Yeah.
But the social world is where they've lacked. We've had many of leadership among black athletes, Charlton, that have tried to carry the torch. But because of the business that they're in, it does not allow them to devote the full time as a social activist would, Charlton, that we had in the 50s and 60s in America in the minority communities. Now we have these athletes, and then many of them have to protect their brand. And so we've seen that over the years. Social media has brought a lot of them out over the past decade and a half, 2 decades, Charlton,
yeah,
where they've been much more exposed. And this is one of the reasons why I respect LeBron James so much.
Amen.
Never in history have an athlete had so much burden put on his back from day one. When he was in high school, the burden was put on him to be that guy, Charlton.
Yeah.
And you think about it. He has been so charismatic and had so much character in carrying that was put on him, Charlton. He's never been in trouble. We've never seen any scandals. And when you think about this world of 24-hour media and social outlets, Charlton, he's been the epitome of professionalism and class in America. Only if we can have that same thing in the White House.
Yep.
But when you think about what LeBron James has exuded throughout his NBA career, Charlton, is that no one can parallel him.
No.
I don't care who you talk about as the greatest or do whatever. But from day one, when you walked into this league as a teenager, and the pressure that was put on you to catapult you to the top, and you to ascend there, Charlton, and do it with class and character, but not just about you. When you look at him as a social activist, Charlton, everyone talks about his basketball. And the reason for that, Charlton, from all the broadcasts, is because they don't want the world to know that a minority athlete is a social leader in our society. This is what they did to Colin Kaepernick. They buried him. But LeBron James was too big to bury. You don't hear the daily stories about LeBron James in the charter schools that he's put together, the social things that he does within Cleveland. This is the reason why he won't leave Cleveland, Charlton, because he's so invested in his community. He knows that certain places in America had been forgotten about. Cleveland was one of those cities, Charlton. If you'd ever went to Cleveland 25, 30 years ago, you saw it was a city of destitute, Charlton. That when the major manufacturers had left, the steel mills and automakers, Charlton, it was a destitute city.
Yeah.
It was something that he brought back to this city pride. You know, they hadn't won a championship in close to 50 years, Charlton. He brought that 2 years ago to that city. Yeah. Even though he had left and gone to Miami, he brought back reality to these people. He gave these people of Cleveland. It wasn't about authenticity, Charlton. It was about the Akron, Canton, Cleveland area, Charlton. Yeah. Where he was raised. He gave these people inspiration, Charlton. He is the chosen one. He is the king of that area. Like I said, if we can have that type of class in the White House. And I don't think that LeBron this time is going to leave the city, because this is all that our media brethren talk about. Where is he going? Is this his last game in Cleveland? Will they ever see him in a Cavaliers uniform again? Yes, they will, Charlton, because he is the chosen one. He was the chosen one to do something different and special. And he has done that off the court more than he has done it on the court. You can't judge this man because he has not won 6 championships, Charlton. Yeah. Because people who have won 6 championships have not won the championships off the court that LeBron James has won. Yeah. As far as what he has done for young minority Americans, Charlton, he is reveled by these. You can say Air Jordan, but you got to look at King James, Charlton.
You know what, Big C? What I love about LeBron James, and I'll go over athletes. They're just human beings. I'm more impressed by somebody's intelligence and what they do. Not to say you got to have a PhD. I've known a lot of people who accomplished a great deal for their families and didn't even go to college. So it's not about somebody going to college. A lot of guys we see on TV, they've been to college, but they don't offer you. They don't speak to your spirit. You know, growing up around the church, there's some pastors that spoke to your spirit. They told you to pray. They told you to trust in God, not trust in somebody giving you $1 or making it rain on you. So I got to bring up this point because what I love about King James, I also love about the Golden State Warriors. Now, Steve Kerr's a white guy. He's mainstream, but he has a beautiful heart. All you got to do is read his background. He's not a sycophant. He's not a racist. He's not a bigot. So as a mainstream guy, a white guy, he could be like Trump and say, well, you know, we don't want to talk about that. You guys are standing or you're going to get the hell out of the country. He could say that, but that's not in his spirit. So the young people, like Steph Curry, beautiful spirit, beautiful family, Kevin Durant. We know the history of his mom raising him. He's a beautiful human being. And I hear about these guys like Klay Thompson, Draymond. These guys, they don't want to stand around somebody who's going to assault their daughters or their mothers. You know, many of these men have beautiful mothers, beautiful daughters and wives. What do they say to their wives when they go stand next to Trump, knowing he's anathema for women and people of color? Yeah, if you're ignorant, yeah, go get the photo shoot. That's what ignorant people do. But in order to stop sexual assault, you can't keep standing with the predator, no matter of his title. And some young girls, listen, please listen. Quit being infatuated with how much money somebody has. The pimp has a lot of money too. He's not going to make your life better. He's going to prey on you. He's going to eat you up, and he's going to spit you out. So that's why when I see someone like Kardashian with her multi-million-dollar bank account and so many, girls that follow her, don't teach young women who have to deal with assault that it's okay to stand next to the assaulter who threatens to sue the women who are emboldened enough to come forward. It's anti-Me Too movement, and to me that sticks in my stomach because I know too many women who've been through that garbage. So that's my 2 cents. I want to get your thoughts. Whether it's a final game tonight, you predicted last night in Las Vegas. I don't know who that told you that the series in the NHL Stanley Cup was going to end last night. They're still looking for that vibranium. Ovechkin was walking around in the MGM Grand saying, "Where's the one with the vibranium I keep hearing about?" He couldn't find it, Big C. Will they have the vibranium celebrations tonight in Cleveland? We know Golden State looking for vibranium, but will they drink vibranium out of the NBA Finals Championship Cup? Big C, your thoughts?
Jonathan, I always thought this series would go 5 games. What amazes me so much about Golden State, and everybody talks about, well, they got 4 future Hall of Famers, they got 4 All-Stars. Okay? When you look at Cleveland, they have as many number 1 draft picks in their starting lineup as Golden State does. You got to look at Cleveland. Cleveland has a number 1 overall draft pick. Golden State doesn't have one. The highest draft pick Golden State has in their lineup is a 2nd pick. That's Kevin Durant. Steph Curry was a 7th pick. I believe Klay Thompson came in around 14 or 15. Draymond Green was a 2nd-round draft pick, Charlton. When you look at the Cavaliers, Kevin Love was a 1st-round draft pick. J.R. Smith was a 1st-round draft pick. LeBron James, a 1st-round draft pick, Charlton.
Yeah.
Jeff Hornacek was a 1st-round draft pick. Tristan Thompson was a 1st-round draft pick. Their entire starting lineup was a 1st-round draft pick, Charlton. So when people say that Golden State has the better team, none of the players on Golden State warrant to be the number 1 overall draft pick, Charlton, on that team. What you have is a bunch of guys who work harder at their craft, okay?
Yes.
That's what you have in Golden State. Who would have thought going into the game 3 that JaVale McGee would have been the 2nd leading scorer in the starting lineup in game 3, going into the 4th quarter.
I know.
And that Klay Thompson and Steph Curry both would have only hit 1 jump shot going into the 4th quarter. But Charlton, what happens with Golden State? And you talked about Steve Kerr, who has been blessed to play around some of the greatest basketball minds of all time. He was with the Bills with Phil Jackson, learning that triangle offense. He was with Greg Popovich in San Antonio, learning that cutting offense that they had, that backdoor offense.
Yeah.
And he incorporated both of those offense and made it his own. He took that backdoor and that triangle offense and made the Golden State offense out of it. When you look at how they trap and roll all the time, where they screen and roll, that's a combination of what he learned under Popovich and under Jackson, Charlton.
Yeah.
And he's incorporated and gotten the 4 NBA championship series in consecutive years, Charlton.
Yeah.
He is a phenomenal coach. But what he has done, Charlton, is that he's done with his players. He's forced them to be students like himself.
Yes.
When you listen to him and he coddles his players on the sideline, Jonathan, he's not lambasting them. He's coddling them.
Yep.
Going to where they want to be. He knows that he has to have somebody with him mentally. There can't be frustration on the bench. There can't be yelling. There's not 9 guys over there trying to make a decision.
No.
He'll let the players sit down, calm down for a moment. He'll talk with his assistants about what the objective are.
Yep.
They get with the players, okay, this is what I need to do. And a couple of times he's been mic'd, and he said, this is what I did when I was playing with Michael.
Yep.
This is what I did when I was playing with Duncan and Admiral.
Yeah.
This is how we handle this situation. This is what the coach would say to him. This is what I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
This is what makes teams great. When you have all these multiple personalities, they have to have one commonality that they recognize.
Yes.
It's the coach. And I hate that the media has beaten up Tyronn Lue
for winning
so much.
For winning.
3 consecutive years being in the NBA championship game, Charlton. And the media hasn't respected. And like I said, there's 28 other coaches sitting at home that would love to be in the position that Tyronn Lue has been in for the last 3 years.
Yeah, winning.
Win, lose, or indifferent. Tyronn Lue, he reminds me of Marv Levy.
Yes.
With the Buffalo Bills. Keep getting to the dance. But you keep getting there.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You keep getting there. As what Herm Edwards would say, former Jets, Kansas City coach, you play to win the game.
Yep.
He's playing to win. He has gotten to the championship. And you think about, this is his greatest job of coaching in his NBA career. You think about the team that he started the season with. All you fans that are naysayers and lovers, look at the team he started the season with. And he started the season without a GM, Charlton.
Yep.
All of a sudden, they started making these moves. They get rid of 5 players from the roster that he had to start with, that he was trying to get incorporated. He was trying to get to learn each other.
Yep.
They had 5 new players that were trying to learn the system in Cleveland. All of a sudden, they're gone.
Yeah.
They bring him in 3 more players. Say, hey, you got to make these guys work. Think about the marvelous job that Tyronn Lue has done from a coaching perspective this year. No other coach has been under fire in the NBA like him all year long, Charlton, trying to make different adjustments with players and lineups work all year long. He's had the one constant in King James, who there's no answer for in the NBA, regardless whether he has a good night or bad night. He is what he is, Charlton.
Yeah.
He is the player. He is the man. And it's just like with this MVP vote that will go to James Harden, because he's been so close so often. So you're finally going to toss him a bone. You're going to say, okay, here you go, James. Let's just get this out of the way.
Yeah, is that what you do to those hounds you got down south? You toss them a bone every now and then, Big C, so they be quiet?
They hang around long enough to get fed.
Has your neighbor given the dog back that you've been looking for yet?
Well, I think he's kind of gone kin to him, Jonathan, and they like each other, so I'm not going to bother with that relationship.
Okay, that's
but
funny.
But when you look at where James is, and where Tyronn Lue is, both of these guys, James, by being the leader on the court, he has to get all of these players on the same page, as well as Tyronn Lue having to put together a scheme that they can all work under. Because when you think about the players that they had to bring in mid-season, Charlton, they have been working under a different system in the NBA, under a different coach, under a different philosophy.
That's right.
All of a sudden, they came to Cleveland, no training camp, no preseason, tossed into the fire. Said, make it work. Okay? This is what they said, make it work. And so they did make it work, Jonathan. They made it to the finals for the 3rd consecutive year. This is not a failure by Tyronn Lue or LeBron James.
No.
This is a testimony to greatness, that regardless and against all odds, we can still achieve and get to where everybody else dreams to get to.
I think that's so well said, Big C. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. And for every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, your high school team, or your mom and pop soccer leagues, when you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you. 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. Big C, I know you like horses, and I think there's a song back in the day by Cameo, one of my favorite songs, and it's called Candy. It's like candy, I can see it when you run. Even in the mud, you tend to win. Will justify win again, Big C. There's a lot of candy coming out of that horse, and there's a sweet taste. But I'm telling you, when you look at what's happening this week, the 150th running of the Belmont Stakes, and Justify is all over everybody's leaderboard. It's hard to do 3 in a row to anything, But is Justified going to be the horse that you think is going to avoid becoming what you guys call glue down south, Big C? Your thoughts?
But no, we don't make glue, Charlton. We make barbecue.
Okay.
Not glue, barbecue.
I think you said barbecue.
Understand the difference, okay?
Okay.
That's a lot of meat. You don't want it to go to waste. We have big walk-in freezers down here. We can hang that up.
Yeah.
But, when you look at Justify in the position that he's in, Charlton, trying to become the second horse in the last 3 years to win the Kentucky Derby.
Yes.
And the Kentucky Derby is the pinnacle of horse racing. But you got to understand, with this media-savvy world now, Charlton, does winning the Triple Crown still carry the luster that it once did? I mean, it's a great accomplishment, and that feat has only been done 13 times.
Yeah.
But does it carry the luster that it once did? I mean, we're looking at that going up against the NBA title, the NHL title, Charlton, the French Open title. The horse racing, we're talking about athletes, and we also say that the horses are athletes.
Yeah.
But we look at individuals that we can identify with that can sign an autograph, not give you a hoof print. Okay?
Yep.
That's where this society has gone.
With a horse,
we look at athletes that
with a
you
horse,
can wear their jerseys. It's been a long time since I've seen somebody walk around with the silks on that a horse wears, okay?
Yeah. Will the horse stand next to POTUS if he wins again, Big Z? Will the horse stand next to POTUS?
I think Justify is a male horse, so he might feel safe going to the White House.
That's funny,
okay? He might feel safe at the White House, but if it was a filly, I don't think he'd want to go. It's not that many oats in Washington to make him go to the White House.
That's funny.
That grass is not that tender. Take
That's
it back
funny.
to Kentucky. But, when I look at Justify and the opportunity, Charlton, to win the Triple Crown,
Yes.
he's the favorite. He's been the favorite all year. And it's still great for horse racing to have a Triple Crown winner. It's like golf. When you have that golfer that you can hang your hat on that makes the galleries large.
Yes.
Justify could create a record crowd at the Belmont, Charlton, with an opportunity to win the Triple Crown.
Well,
One of the things Americans are always hungry for, Charlton, is to be a part of history.
Yes.
We're such a history buff nation. To be there when something happened that hasn't happened before, or something that hasn't happened in recent future.
Yeah.
History, rather.
Yes.
So this would be iconic. 2 Triple Crowns in 3 years.
Why?
It could lift the horse racing back to where it once was, Charlton. And now with betting that's going to be free, open range around the United States, what do you say, Delaware?
Yeah.
Open it up on Tuesday.
Yep.
So everybody will be betting next year looking for that next Triple Crown winner.
Well, when you think about Belmont Stakes, Justify is the favorite. There's Free Drop Billy. There's Bravazzo. There's Hofburg. Restoring Hope. What a great name, Restoring Hope. Hopefully we can have that in this country. Gronkowski,
It wasn't
tenfold.
that at the White House.
I think it was.
The president was trying to restore Hope.
Trying to restore
found
her.
out that she lied and had to let her go.
Yeah, but hey, maybe Kim Kardashian thinks she can get a job because she's restoring hope to a lot of men. But I just want to say, for all the horses out there, good luck running and winning your race, because we know a lot of people love getting into the horse races, Big C. We look forward to it. So much happening in the world of the sports universe. Last story I want to cover, Big C, is down in the city of Las Vegas, Nevada, where everything that happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I look at Crawford. He's 32-0. Horns 18-1. It's the big event. Horn actually missed the weigh-in today. He's going to go out and try to shed, a half pound to come in at 147. But if you think about Crawford, if he wins this thing, he's looking at being one of 6 fighters in the history of the fight business to have a lightweight championship, a junior welterweight, and a welterweight championship. I think it's going to be great action for about the first 6 or 7 rounds. I don't know if we see round 8. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is what boxing needs. We looked at the excitement that was in Vegas last night, Charlton, with the final in the Stanley Cup and Washington walking away with that. Now boxing is going to take the main stage, Charlton, in this city where it should always be the main stage. Boxing in Vegas have that glitz that respect each other, and that they have such a great relationship over the decades.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest fights in history we've seen. And it's a fitting city to have championship fights, Charlton. So to go out and have all of these titles, this is what boxing needs as a resurrection. You just can't have these also-rans coming in, Charlton. You have to have championship fights.
Yeah.
Because every time you hold an MMA event going on in Vegas, those are championship events.
Yeah.
They bring in the champions. You have to fight. You have to defend your title. Boxing had got to the point where champions were avoiding people, Charlton, because they wanted to hold on to the title.
Yep.
Couldn't make any money. They just wanted to have the title.
Yeah.
You know, I want to hold the belt for a year. I don't want to lose it the first year I got it. So
Yeah.
they would duck and dodge, not in the ring, but outside the ring.
Yeah.
The number one contender.
Yep.
They would find a reason not to fight him.
Yeah.
But with Vegas having this fight to be able to go on, Charlton, and if the NBA Finals end tonight in Cleveland, think about the prestige that this fight will hold, Charlton, on a national spectrum.
Yeah, I think that's so important. You know, I love the sports business. I love keeping women safe. I love standing up for people of color and the Me Too movement. I love when men, mainstream and people of color, will just do the right things. I love all those good things, whether it's a horse or who's going to be the biggest lion in the NBA championship, who's going to win the fight down in Las Vegas. We got it all covered for you on Big C Sports. Big C. Back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bundini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Charlton, I'm looking forward to an exciting and riveting game tonight in Game 4. Will the Golden State Warriors sweep the Cleveland Cavaliers? Or will they take it back home to Game 5 and let Cleveland have one at home with LeBron and go back and finish this up Oracle on Monday night?
Well, I tell you what, Big C, it's all fair in love and war, and it's all fair every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence or sexual assault. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.